Joanna, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Sally. It's always wonderful to see you.
It is so great to see you. You are, I have to say it, I'm not biased because you're my friend, but you really are the best drone photographer out there. Your stuff is beautiful. You have been on a tear shooting all sorts of stuff. And in fact, we should tell the watchers, you sent me the most beautiful photos this morning of some dolphins that you have been working on so hard to get these shots. So why don't you tell the listeners, if they don't know who are you, why are you here, and why are you so fabulous?
Well, I'm Joanna Steidle. I'm a drone pilot, obviously, with a focus on fine art photography and cinematic videography. So that's my focus. I love art. I love drones. I love nature and wildlife. And so all three of those passions just come together and it's working out well.
And your drone photography has been winning so many awards. We're going into the new Sky Pixel season. And if people don't know, you were one of the winners of last year's Sky Pixel contest. That was for your photo, Another World. That photo has won many awards. You won a Siena Award. I believe that photo is up at the Natural History Museum in Tuscany. You are all over the place. So I want to talk about that image in particular.
Okay.
How did you get that shot? Because it is award winning.
First of all, let me just tell you that that was on my 50th birthday. Yes.
The
So it was
ultimate birthday gift.
I mean, I can't tell you. It was like, yeah, I'll never forget it because it was an incredible day. The water was crystal clear. Um, I'm here on the east coast of Long Island, so I am flying the ocean for marine life pretty much from May to October. Every really good weather day, if possible. At the time of this shot, we had a tremendous amount of bait fish along our coast, which attracts, and that's what Another World is. Those are actually menhaden forage bait fish. They eat plankton and they're filter feeders. So they attract everything else. I mean, they feed our entire ocean. They're a major keystone species. You know, we're working on conservation efforts to protect those too. But that day, those are cow nose rays that migrate up here from South America every year. We're seeing more and more each year. So over the years I've been documenting since about 2018, uh, we are steadily increasing with those numbers for the cow nose rays. Now I will tell you that the rays in the photo do not eat those fish. They're not predator. But the fish don't know that. They just know something large is coming towards them. So this shot, I have multiple photos, you know, like 10 seconds before, 10 seconds after. I was situated high enough that I could see something amazing was about to happen because the rays were right on the surface, and that doesn't always happen. So you can see the different layers of rays beneath, and so just at least having a few rays on top, and I watched that whole school of fish just slowly spread apart, making way, you know, not understanding which way they should go to avoid the rays. So it was a peaceful interaction and really one of the most wildest moments. That required a significant amount of, well, not, I shouldn't say a significant amount of editing. There wasn't a lot of touch ups on that because the sun rays were just like so perfect the way they came through. But the clarity of the water from a top-down perspective is sometimes a little more brown. So it was just a matter of pulling out those greens and lights and highlights.
Something that I think this photo really exemplifies, and then also you were sending me the dolphin photos, and I think they exemplify the same thing, is that there is this element of the decisive moment. I know Henry Cartier-Bresson always talked about the decisive moment where you have to be there waiting for the shot. The shot is not just there, but you have to be prepared. There's an element of timing. So you mentioned the migration of the animals. You can only take this shot during certain months or weeks anyway. And then from there, there's that added decisive moment in that exact point. Can you talk about the patience that goes into waiting for these shots, the planning that goes into them?
Well, I tell you what, yeah, I want to quit sometimes every day. But honestly, because a lot of times I come up empty. I could fly 30 miles a beach, stop at 12 different beaches, use 9 Mavic 3 batteries, and not see one fish. And that can often sometimes go on. The past 2 years have been difficult. for days or 2 weeks. And, it's those moments where you just want to just stop and quit and go home. And the dolphin series, I call it motherhood. That just happened after a 4-day stunt of not finding anything. It was 4:30 in the afternoon, and I get up at 2 or 3. So I was like, I just want to go home. I just want to go home. And then I'm like, the conditions are perfect. So I look for dead calm water. If it's dead calm, I gotta fly all day looking. If it's really choppy, I won't, because I'm just not gonna get the quality. So it was like the last flight of the day. There was this pod of about 20 dolphins, and it was just so dead calm. And I've always tried to capture dolphins coming out of the water, but I never thought to think, well, let's capture them just under the surface so we don't get any kind of a distraction from the splash. Now, splash is always lovely, and it's very difficult from a drone because of the different f-stops and stuff that are not available. But this moment, I was just glued. I just saw this mother and this calf, and I have 2 grown boys, so that whole mother thing comes in, and I just watched the interaction, how the mother would it was, I just couldn't help it. The light perfectly hit the calf so that the shadow of the calf fell on the mother's womb where it once resided. I just loved, it was like, or, the shadow is the forever spot in a parent's heart. It really just kind of, I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be good. I had my shutter right. I had everything in line. I had everything prepared. And a lot of I will usually do, once I take the drone up and I see the conditions in terms of sun and lighting, and so I fly up, I fly out towards the sun, I turn around, I maneuver the drone so I can see the best angles. Sometimes shooting a little more into the sun is a good thing. You'd be surprised, and sometimes it's not. So it was just a matter of, when I saw them getting into position, also knowing my visual line of sight, how much time did I have with them, assuring that those photos are heavily cropped, because I don't fly down on dolphins. You can't do that. Yeah, that was like,
The shot, yes, the one where the baby dolphin, you can see the shadow of the womb on the mother, is incredible. It takes so much planning because you do have to know where the sun is. You can't just take that shot, but you do have to maneuver the drone around. And then, of course, there is the element of luck that the dolphin will be swimming that close to the mother, that they will even swim that direction. It's a lot of good timing, probably some luck, and a lot of your work being out there and filming all the time. A lot of people want to have this now culture. They want to get everything now, and they want to get the shot now. What would you say to people about it really does take time to make beautiful work?
I don't feed into the gratification. It took me, it was one of the very first lessons I learned doing this in the photography was, I would go out, take a photo, edit it, put it out there, and, the next day I was like, oh my gosh, this photo's horrible. So what I do is step away, give yourself the time and space. If you're loving what you do and you really enjoy, capturing, whether it's nature or even architecture or, for me, it's a lot of the marine life, step away, because sometimes you get too close to the image. I'll get too far deep down like this rabbit hole, and I'll come out and I'll say, oh, it's fantastic. But the next day I'll wake up and I'll be like, oh, no, no, no. So that cycle can go on. For me, only because I'm searching for more fine art where the real passion and love comes out in the edit itself.
Mm.
And you're right, the timing, a lot of it is just showing up. You're never going to get the shot if you don't show up.
Mm-hmm.
So back your drone up and get out there.
Yeah. Yeah, so a lot of the work that you do is nature, lots of marine life. What draws you to these subjects? How did you become the marine life photographer?
Well, I grew up on a commercial clam boat. So I've always been on boats and so on.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah. My father had a clam transplant business, 500,000 clams a day in and out. So
Wow.
I knew what it was like to work firsthand and live from the sea. That was very beneficial, but I've always loved the beach. I always loved the salt air. It's a place where I really can feel my smallness in this world. When you think about it, we're just these tiny little specks, and how this one tiny little speck going to affect any kind of positive change, and that's really what I think about. I have a little routine when I go to launch my drone, kind of like a baseball player up at bat, they scratch their nose or do whatever. You know, I have my little come to me Mother Nature, and I always ask Mother Nature to take me to what she feels should be captured in that time and moment. So I think being aware of, I may be on a mission to do the marine life, but I may turn around and see this cloud formation that is just unbelievable and get one of the best time lapses possible. So even though you're steadily focused on, you also let go of expectations.
Right.
Because you just never, I never have this expectation. Sometimes I think I can feel it, like, oh, it's going to happen today. That was good. It's going to happen. And, I just believe in trusting your gut instinct on those situations. But I do have a great love of the ocean. I grew up also in the woods, surrounded by woods, climbing trees.
Yeah. It seems like you often go into shoots with some sort of plan of what you're going to shoot, but then you're also open to whatever else comes your way, and we're allowed to deviate from the plan.
Right, you have to be able to deviate from that plan, especially if you're just dealing with creative work, photography, creative photography. At this point, I'm starting to build what I believe is somewhat of a legacy. I'm going to keep my strong focus here on the East Coast of the United States, New England, down to Florida. And I'm just going to have to chase the fish because we don't really have many here. We'll probably have less this coming year.
What's the reasoning to focus on one singular geographic area?
Well, because I do it long enough, I will have, a massive set of, documentation.
Mm.
So,
Hmm.
I want to do the sand patterns. I just have other new series, Sand Script, which is really cool. I want to focus on the coastal line, the marine life, sand patterns, marshes, top-down abstracts. I do love foliage, and snow, so we'll be in New England quite a bit. The focus is because I am not in a position where I can just afford to travel all around the world wherever I want to go and
Hmm.
get these super high-end shots, or these places that really wow the entire world. I often tell people, they say, oh well, I live in Detroit, it's not very pretty, and I said, well, you have to really just try to make the best of wherever you are and whatever your situation is. I said, listen, you've got a couple of kids. Go do shadow play with the kids. I mean, there's a lot of very creative things you can do wherever.
Yeah, that is such a good point because I hear from so many people who think they need to go all the way to Bali to go fly their drone. And it's this whole thing. And it's funny because some of the top viewed articles on my site are where to fly drones in these really high end places, how to travel with your drone, how to buy a travel drone. But you really don't need to only have your drone when you're in Hawaii or Bali or wherever. Often the best shots, and we see this with street photography, with drone photography, any type of photography, is something in your own home, and it's taking that sort of mundane and really making it amazing with really good shots. So I'm so glad you think this. I think a lot of people assume the harder I worked to get a shot in terms of flying all the way to Bali, automatically better that shot is going to be, when the reality is maybe your backyard has something really interesting in it.
You know what the one thing is like I could go to Bali, but I have no connection with that land. I've developed a connection here where, I know the shadow is better in the fall over at the horse farm than it is in the spring. I know that I want to do this, at a low tide instead of a high tide. So it's all these little things that, will actually build up your experience. And the other thing I really often tell a lot of people is I think, as an artist, it's really important to evolve. So my work from 5 years ago is very different from my work today. And I take time every year. I just got out of a Da Vinci course that was fantastic. I'm so excited for some new color grading and masking and video
Cool.
and stuff like that. But, one of the things that I'm starting to notice, because I'm getting calls from art agents and agencies and a lot of licensing and galleries and stuff like this, and people who want to represent me, evolution, people look at that. They can see, and they see that, okay, well, look at where she's gone, and what has she accomplished in 5 years? How different has her work progressed? And it's constantly trying to not necessarily do things different, because the way I'm doing things is working. It just needs to be polished and more professional. And a lot of my stuff is minimalistic. If you look at those dolphin photos, those bubbles, I mean, it's very rare to get that kind of clarity on bubbles moving that fast. So I encourage people to, continue to just learning, keep connecting with more people, because the more people you connect with, the more you learn, believe it or not.
Yeah. You've had enormous success in the drone industry. It seems like we might have galleries calling you today for shots. Can you talk about the business side of this, how you get your stuff in galleries, how you're making money off drones, and then how you decide what kind of content to shoot for which client? How are you handling all these clients? Everyone wants to be in a gallery. Everyone wants to have their stuff in a magazine. How are you making these deals, and how are you approaching them?
Okay, so they're finding me because I've been spending an extra 2-3 hours every day promoting my work for 5 years now. I mean, it's not something that just, nothing was handed to me, that's for sure. I have won, I think, over 35 awards now. And I also have on my X feed is where a lot of the national meteorologists follow me, or news broadcasters. So I had, I think, 19 viral news videos this year alone, and that's income. It's not just income, but I get paid and they put my name out there. So I have people like in New Mexico and other places that like, I see your stuff on the news all the time in the summer. And I'm like, good, good.
Amazing.
So that's one of the ways that was a really big help. It's helpful to actually, I used to give it away to small local stations. And I did that for a while until I got to the point where I said, I have to make, what happened is the newscasters and the meteorologists actually got like a little hooked on it. Like, okay, it's Joanna, what's she got now? So they ended up following me and I ended up getting this following. So that's how that worked out. But the contests and winning, you don't even necessarily have to win the contest. As long as you place, you get listed, you get published, sometimes in the book, it depends. And that's where everyone, all the high-end publications look.
Interesting.
Really look at the contest. I mean, I had one of my cranberry harvest photos won an American Photography Award, and a week later, Smithsonian Magazine called me. Wanted the whole series because one of the judges in the American Photography was a senior editor at Smithsonian.
Interesting.
Right, so it's just constant like networking and networking.
Interesting. So the contests are really key to getting published elsewhere. Just get your name out there.
They have for me.
Yeah.
But you can't be just a one-hit wonder.
Mm.
I was really afraid I was going to just have one good photo, but we're consistently doing better and better, so.
Interesting. Interesting. And can you talk about how your art has evolved? You kind of mentioned that earlier, but you are definitely not a one-hit wonder. You've got Diving 2 has won multiple awards. You've got Another World has won multiple awards. You really have expanded your portfolio. So how have you evolved over time?
Okay, so, well, when you're first starting, you really don't have any clue what you're doing. Honestly, I wake up in the morning, I still have no clue what I'm doing, so I don't know what
I don't either.
About here. But, I started going down a path, and I definitely didn't want to be like everyone else. I do have a background in graphic design and website design and marketing a bit, so I have, in my, I'm not a spring chicken, so I've had a whole lifetime of experience that I was able to utilize, on the business side of this. I've run businesses.
Just the evolution of your
Oh,
drone
yeah, right.
photography.
Yeah.
How would you describe shots that you did 5 years ago versus the shots you're making now?
Oh, come on, they're horrible. You know what?
They're not horrible,
No.
but I'll let you continue.
Okay, so 5 years ago, yeah. What what I think what I really actually, it's very difficult to impress myself, but I found that there were certain specific moments in minimalistic photography. So I live in a very flat area. We have no mountains. We have the ocean and we have a bay and we have a couple of small marshes. But to do landscape photography, it just was not going to cut it. And that's what everybody else seemed to focus on. And so I, in turn, especially over those first years, a top-down edits I feel are very different to do than a landscape edit, dealing with a flat surface, or somewhat flat as compared to a landscape with a lot of depth in it. So I just hooked onto that, and I used Photoshop. I mean, I was only using Photoshop. It wasn't until I started to, one of my mentors said, Joanna, you've got to do Lightroom now. Enough's enough. You're a photographer. He said. So I had to go through that whole back learning page. But to be honest, when you self-teach yourself, you miss a lot. You miss a lot of those little basic things that can really make your time, prioritize your time.
Yeah.
And really utilize it to the best of your ability. So.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm shocked to hear that you're still enrolling in photo classes because I think of you as the best of the best, but you still are continuing to improve yourself.
Oh, absolutely. And I think it's going to be quite some time. Just if you think about it, I've only been doing photography for 5 years. I'm really only in my infancy. I see the potential to do quite a bit more and kind of more meaningful projects that, have spanned over years.
Okay.
Documentations of, not just the marine life, but, I work in conservation efforts here. So that really helps, my data in terms of what I'm seeing as a visual observer of the schools of fish migrating when and where and how many. So, it's kind of trying just to eventually it will build a legacy as long as I stay focused on, and absolutely, I definitely don't think my work is so fantastic. It doesn't need improvement. Always need to focus and improve, and whether that be just flying skills. I mean, I fly up around the ceiling fan probably 10 times a week. And until, even if I hit it right once, you just keep practicing. It's a matter of practice and, yeah, always learning new things.
Yeah, yeah. Let's talk about what you are flying these days. What's your top gear?
Okay, so I just got the Mavic 4 Pro.
Oh, you did? Great.
I did. I really wanted to wait and to get the second in the series. I always find that the second in the series is so much better.
I agree.
But I did hear that it won't be coming out in spring, and the earliest maybe the end of the year. And with the impending ban, I said we got to get it. I can't be in a situation, so I haven't even opened it yet. I've got to get insurance. But I have the Mavic 3 Pro.
Okay.
I also have the Mini 4 Pro, which I use for lessons.
Okay.
And I have the Avata 2 with the Action 5 camera on it.
Yeah.
So I have a Phantom 4 Pro still.
Sweet.
And, I was going to sell it. I was going to give it away. But I think I've got some really creative to use it for this summer.
Okay. Can you share? We'll check back in. Amazing. So for now, is the Mavic 3 what you're mostly shooting your fine art photos on?
Yeah, it's what everything's on. Yeah, I haven't turned the 4 on yet.
And then what are you shooting with the Avata?
Oh, I fly through the trees. So I've gone down, I've gone up to, in the foliage. I have a friend up in Maine area, so we do a group of me and another 3 women. We fly Cape Cod. We do the marine life here together. They come here, and then we do Cape Cod, and we do the mountains in autumn. And the Avata, I love to fly through the trees. I can fly through the trees. I can fly down real low on the beaches. Preferably, it's where I get that adrenaline rush because I really do like to fly fast. I mean, I'd rather fly as fast as I possibly can at every given moment. And I think it was one of the major things that I struggled with was slowing down to
Mm,
get that cinematic footage. I was like, this is so boring, but it is beautiful, and it's what sells.
okay. Okay.
Diavada is, yeah. Diavada's whipping through, so I've done department stores, and I'm doing an ice cream shop next week, and I'm doing, a few other things. So I do still take those jobs. I'll take any day.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah, but I don't want to do like basic real estate stuff. It's not, worth my time. Yeah.
In terms of what shots are more technically challenging, is it those fast shots with the Avata? Is it the fine art photography where you are waiting for that shadow to hit the dolphin in the exact right spot?
That's an interesting question because the Avada is technically, you have to really focus more on the line. So I don't use the Avada for photography. It's only for FPV footage.
Okay.
So technically, yeah, because it needs a specific stabilization in the post processing, so it's a little more tough, but they're really smooth drones. I know you know that. It's very smooth, so I don't spend as much time editing like an FPV video footage, but if I take a photo, a fine art photo, I could spend again weeks because
Mm,
I need to get down into every little pixel
mm-hmm.
because in order to enlarge, people want this 6 to 8 feet on their wall
Mm-hmm.
and still maintain that clarity.
Right.
There's a lot more time. So technically, time wise, the photography is much longer.
Interesting.
Yeah, but
Yeah, an ice cream shot shoot, you could probably do it in a day and then be done.
yeah, we'll be done in 30 minutes.
Right, 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 exactly. People want to know how do you land these gigs? Are these clients coming from your Instagram accounts? How are you marketing and how are you getting these jobs?
So, not really from social media, not too much. I really don't get a lot of attention on social media.
Okay.
You can be sure to follow me.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think you have 36,000 followers.
Yeah, yeah. But the thing is with social media is I divide everything up. So I am on LinkedIn, I'm on YouTube, I'm on X, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. But I'm no longer on TikTok, and I'll probably have to cut a few out. And when you spread yourself too thin over different platforms, you don't have a lot of time to engage.
Right,
But I have very dedicated, specific followers on each platform that I don't want to leave out.
right.
So, but they're finding me, yeah, through a lot through the news sources, through
Okay.
the contests, and through a little bit through social media. Yeah, we're getting more social media. When DJI starts sharing my stuff or National Geographic, then there's like a big boost. But people, I've worked my way up through the stock videos to, if you Google Hamptons or golf or, Shinnecock, we have the Golf U.S. Open here next year. So I got to fly over there. I got to,
Amazing.
so, and, like golf.com just said they Googled Shinnecock drone photographer.
Cool.
When these other agencies, there's also kind of word of mouth.
Right.
I know that worked with National Geographic on Shark Fest they've taken footage 4 years in a row now. So I think that your name gets passed around between producers.
And have a good name out there. That's good advice. I do have to ask about AI. That is the conversation everyone is talking about. Are you using it? Are you completely ignoring it? And any answer is okay.
Well, here's my opinion. I do use AI when I enlarge. So there's just no way I can take a 3,000 pixel photo and enlarge it up to 6 to 10 feet. Not going to happen without AI to help that enlargement process. I use the AI features in Photoshop, Lightroom, DaVinci, anything inside of a program. I don't generate any images from AI, and I probably I poked around with different programs just to get a grip on the technology to a degree and how far it's advancing. I do have some concerns. A lot of my work is out there to be utilized by AI, but I keep putting my name in. I don't see it coming up. So we're pretty safe on that side. In terms of me, I think it's a personal preference. I don't want to be known for that.
Hmm.
Now, I think it really can damage your credibility if you start teetering into that direction without an established foundation. Those things should be really kept separately. So all of my photos, even if the ones are like strongly edited, they're still a true moment in time. Nothing is moved. I didn't add a shark or, move something here. I may have touched up some air bubbles and emphasized some color and light, but that's about it.
Hmm.
So it's really, really important for my reputation not
Right.
to go down that road and confuse people.
Yeah.
We're on this path, and I don't want to confuse people. I want to stay on this path because it is working. I have nothing against AI. I've put together some funny videos with it. I'm just not a media company. And I think it's more useful for media companies who are trying to throw together these shorts.
Mm.
I think it's going to be fantastic for them. I mean, if I want to do a little autumn for someone, and you can pick up a squirrel with an acorn. You can pick it up for free. It's right there and utilize it. So it's going to dramatically change the landscape, I think, over the next 5 years. But I'm going to stick with classic.
Yeah. Even in that vein, what is the line on editing photos? I know you will touch up an air bubble here and there, edit some lighting, but what is the line where we're not adding fake shadows or we're not, completely removing a whole tree or something?
So it really depends. I haven't really gone down that road of like composites where people use the sky and they use different, like those are genuine beautiful photographs that are composites. But it's very similar what I do. It really depends. I'm looking to be a fine art photographer, not a photojournalist. Oh, there is that big difference. I know that you were asking me. So a photojournalistic shot, like I did when I gave the shots to Smithsonian of the cranberry bogs, they have to be very, very true to the moment.
Mm.
I can't even erase a patch in the grass. I won't do it. It has to be
Hmm.
exactly real to that time. But the fine art photography, I can do whatever I want with, but I do keep that integrity of the photo together. I will smooth out. Sometimes it's just a matter of, especially on the whales and stuff, just taking the texture down to, give a calming look on the water, smoothness. Not a big issue for any of these contests.
Hmm.
Anything like the major contests, like wildlife photographer, nature photographer of the year, some contests are extremely strict. You can't
Mm.
even stamp out an air bubble. But most photography awards allow you the creative, you really have a lot of creative.
Freedom
Yeah, thank you.
to, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I love that you can change the style depending on the purpose. So you're not just in one box of I never edit or I always edit, but it really depends on who the client is and what the purpose of it is. And that flexibility I really admire.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, I make a living off a lot of the especially the videos. Any video that goes on the news has to go through a standardized test so that they can confirm date and location and all that. So it's really important not to edit. They
Hmm.
need raw footage and the raw photo for verification.
Right, right. It's great that you're not all or nothing because there's some people who just say, I literally never use AI. I never edit any photos. And then some people who always do, but it's nice to look at the situation and match based on that. Now, you mentioned a lot of photography contests. We are rolling into contest season, it feels like. So where can we expect you to be? What are your priorities for this year?
Okay, that's a tough one. So I did enter wildlife photographer of the year. That's my first time. Not sure because that's very, very strict on the editing. And like I said, a lot of the photos, like they're not, yeah, they could have white spots all over their bubbles. Anyway, so upcoming, let's see, we have the Sky Pixel contest. I'm sure that's going to go. That's usually in January. We have American Photography Awards. That usually happens by February, along with International IPA, International Photography Awards. We've got Sienna. This year I'm not going to participate in the U.S. net, the ones here in the U.S. like Thunderbird and SoCal and Arizona. I'm going to skip those. What else do we have this year? There's a Julia Cameron Award. That's for women photographers. That'll be a new contest. I give that a try this year.
And in terms of the shots that you're looking to pursue this year, what's on the horizon?
Well, we want more abstract sand patterns. We're going to be doing that. I'm also going to be doing a lot more of the bait fish. So we're working on I want a full documentation story of the bait fish. They're coming out of Chesapeake Bay. They spawn in Chesapeake Bay, get sucked up by the commercial fleets just off the coast of Jersey, and they never make it out here. So we're going to be doing a little more, following the Menhaden, the Atlantic Menhaden, and maybe going down to Louisiana because they have issues down there with the red Menhaden, the Gulf Menhaden. And they really are the most important fish in our sea. Everything depends on them, and they're getting sucked up. So
Interesting.
yeah, so we're going to be doing a lot more to incorporate the larger size of the story. I mean, I've got documentation out here. It doesn't really scientifically prove anything. If the fish aren't here, it's very difficult for me to prove that there's no fish, except to go out and go to every beach and document that there's no fish. It's just, it eats up too much time, and there is no no real return on that. So we have to prioritize, which financially is best and which pulls at my heartstrings.
Interesting.
So is something that really pulls at my heartstrings.
Yeah.
The marine life. We're going to be working more on that. Sand patterns. A lot more research of following, the sharks down in Florida, and around to the Gulf, and maybe even dip into the Bahamas. I was planning to go to Cabo for the whales, but I'm not sure. Well,
Okay.
we'll think about that. Just because, again, it just, Sally, it doesn't make sense for me to try to, I can't do it. I can't travel all around the world hoping that there's fish.
Right.
No, it's just actually not as common as most people realize. You see the photos, you're like, oh my gosh, look at this, it's all out there, but it takes a long time.
Is there a single dream shot that you really did wish you could have?
Well, I really want some good bubble net feeding of the whales. When you get like 3 different whales coming together and they do the Fibonacci bubble. Now, I've seen captured the bubbles in the spiral, they call it. It's the whale bubble spiral. But their mouths need to come out and they eat krill. So there's that. What I really want, which is very unique to New England here, is the humpback whale's lunge feed. So what you'll see pretty much everywhere else in the world is when the whales come to the surface, they open their mouths and they turn their bodies and they just kind of do this on the surface and they're sucking up krill. Krill is tiny. Krill is very small. We have the Menhaden baitfish are about this big. So here is where those humpbacks, charge open mouth through the surface like this. And the fish, you see, fish scatter everywhere. I don't really see it have that type of content anywhere else in the world.
Okay.
So we have been really working hard to get those shots, more of a top-down shot, something you can't get from a boat.
Right.
So I have one shot that I'm kind of happy with, but
okay,
we'll see where it goes. Did want to mention something about Another World for the Sienna Awards. So I entered that photo 2 previous years, and it never made it past the first round. I believed in it.
Yeah.
I think they just weren't ready for it.
Wow, that is good advice, is be persistent, don't give up.
Right. I mean, there was no rule that you couldn't re-enter it.
Yeah.
And then it won, right?
Amazing.
I believed in it. I believed in it.
I love that. If you get rejected once, keep trying.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I get rejected all the time.
More than once. If you get rejected more than once.
Yeah, I've got hundreds of lawsuits.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think that circles back to my last question is there are so many people who do aspire to be like you. What would you tell someone? What's your advice?
Well, I do mentor quite a few women. I just picked up a new one. She's very excited, and I love seeing that passion in people. So I would say focus, pick a focus, what interests you. So, it took me 5 years to choose photography. I mean, I was flying drones. I was involved in the legal aspects, the patchwork laws popping up everywhere, the technology. I was learning to fly and crash and rebuild, and I spent years doing that before I found that photography was where I wanted to focus. So anybody really starting out, if you find something you really love to focus on, you'll probably succeed much quicker if you focus on one thing. If you try to do mapping and real estate and photography, all these different things, and offer all these different services, that's where I've seen most people fail. And I've seen at least 10 drone businesses here on Long Island fail in the past 10 years because that's what they did.
Try to do it all, but instead be an expert in your field. That's really good advice. Last thing, Joanna, where can people find you?
Well, okay, so I'm on Instagram at Joanna Steidle. We can put that up. I am on Facebook, Joanna Steidle. On YouTube at Hampton's Drone. And you can find my websites also, Joanna Steidle, Hampton's Drone.
Okay, amazing.
I'm rebranding. Was a little mixed up.
Little Joanna, little Hampton's Drones.
Or Joanna Steidle. Yeah, so if you forget my name, just go Hampton's Drone.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining me today. Good luck to you as you go into this competition season. I know many more awards are in your future. You are so supremely talented. Thank you to all the watchers out there, and happy flying.
Thank you so much, Sally. Hey, fly safe, dream big.